This meeting of the Littleton Licensing Authority will come to order. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Authority Chair Bradish.
Here.
Authority Vice Chair Cole.
Here.
Authority Member Levere.
Here.
Authority Member Mather.
Here.
Authority Member Odell.
Here.
Authority Member Peterson.
Here.
Authority Member Webb.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Next item of business is approval of the agenda. I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Next item of business is approval of the certification of the minutes of our last meeting. Is there any discussion about that?
I'll move that we approve the certification, the clerk's certification of the August 13th, the minutes of the August 13th meeting.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carried. Next item of business, first item of business, item number 12, medical marijuana application hearings. We're to conduct a public hearing for a medical marijuana center license for the Green Solution LLC, doing business as the Green Solution, 5231 South Santa Fe Drive, Littleton, Colorado. Before we proceed on that, I believe Authority Member Peterson would like to put a statement into the record.
Yes, I would. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to make a public announcement that I have had dealings with Green Solution in my current position. I'm the manager of the Marijuana Enforcement Division for the city of Aurora, and so it looks I'm an alternate, and so it looks like I won't be in a voting position. But I wanted to make sure that it was publicly known that I do know these folks. They went through our application process. Been talking with them for about 4 or 5 months. So just wanted that to be on the record, and I didn't think it would make an influence on my vote if I was voting, but I'm not voting tonight. So just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. The authority appreciates your candor. We have some attachments, exhibits.
Yes, exhibits
Exhibit A through Exhibit D.
Actually through F. There's also an Exhibit E, which is the Littleton Police Department report, and F is the public hearing roster.
We probably have a list of speakers, intended speakers. That would be Exhibit F, I assume.
Yes.
I'll move that we enter exhibits A through F.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. At this time, I would ask representatives from the Green Solution LLC step forward to make your presentation.
Good evening, authority members. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. We really appreciate it. I would like to start off by saying how excited we are to have the opportunity to show the city of Littleton.
Excuse us, sorry. Should we swear them in?
That was my oversight. We will have to swear you in. Thank you, Andrew.
Sure.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this authority is truthful?
I do. Yes.
Thank you.
I forgot to introduce myself as well, so both sides here. My name is Eric Speidel. I'm co-CEO of the Green Solution Alternative Medicine. We operate 4 dispensaries within the state currently, 2 in Denver, 1 in Lakewood, 1 in Northglenn, of which we contribute extensively within those communities with our cannabis presence. Again, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to show up here tonight and show what a cannabis store that is structured, organized, compliant, safe, and established can do for the city of Littleton. We want to ensure that the city is proud of who is representing it and that you feel comfortable with decisions you make. We work diligently to provide community education and outreach that helps consumers and citizens understand the programs that the city has available. Our goal is to take an unsuccessful and dilapidated business, Mother Nature's cure, of which we're buying the license, and create a business that the city can be proud of. We would like to briefly describe the points of our operating plan that we provided within the application. This way you can see the transparency and commitment to the city. Again, like I said, my name is Eric Spidel. I'm co-CEO. To my left here is Kyle Spidel, co-CEO, responsible for working within our corporate structure as the vision behind a lot of what we do. This individual here is my older brother, Brad Spidel. He is Chief Operating Officer, works explicitly within our retail divisions. And this is Nick Spidel, also an owner. He's the Chief Security and Information Officer. Collectively, us four have built this business from the ground up. We started a little over 4 years ago, Kyle and I, running the business ourselves directly, just myself running our cultivation and him running the retail. We have since then employed 270 employees, of which 35 are dedicated security and safety officers, 25 that run our corporate offices, 125 within our retail chains, and 80 in our manufacturing facilities. We've built a robust platform that we are extremely proud of through information control, transporting, and making sure that we understand every dynamic of this business, specifically through our manufacturing, which is the key component to our success. I myself run most of the manufacturing side, which is the cultivation and extraction facilities. It's the one way we control our quality and consistency within the products of which we produce to our patients. Our patients are very well versed within our facilities because of individuals like Brad that are capable of displaying that dedication to the day-to-day of helping them understand their conditions and the products of which we provide. I work directly with Kyle in expanding the efforts of the Green Solution and ensure that the Green Solution is not only within one community, but hopefully many within Colorado. We believe we are the cutting edge and drive a different level of professionalism, respect, and understanding to this business than I believe anybody else does. And I believe that building this thing in 2 years or 4 years with two individuals to 270 has proven that and has shown a dedication within ourselves that we're willing to put everything back within our grasp back into the business to continue to build it, and that's what we're here to do tonight. So with that, I'll move to Kyle and kind of let him explain kind of the overall corporate structure and how we operate, and then we'll move to Brad and Nick to kind of gauge the retail and the security components within our organization.
Good evening, Authority. Thanks for your time tonight. We truly appreciate it. I want to just discuss what makes us successful from the start. We believe that a strong structure starts in the top down. So we've developed corporate offices starting in our 17th California downtown, trying to fit in with corporate America. It's our first goal, to ensure that we bring the same things that the rest of this world bring, which is professionalism and consistency in the marketplace and in the business organizations. We do this, we employ just in our corporate offices just around 25 people, and that is a network of professional or top-of-the-line accountants, HR recruiting, design teams, licensing specialists, dedicated IT, and many other support that help run the business in the day-to-day. With that, all of these people have developed many other products that we have that help support the business. For example, we've developed a database, a portal we call it. It's called TGS Management Portal. And what that does is it actually connects our corporate offices to every facility that we have. It allows us to be transparent between each facility with accounting and HR recruiting and the development between each one individually.
And the list goes on. And actually I've provided some of that in the application, and the depth that we go into with that. And what that does is it provides the ability to focus on every level of our business, making sure that compliance is number one, making sure that our employees are happy, and we're bringing a great atmosphere to any facility that we have. And then with that, we also had, just to piggyback that a little more with the portal, just a couple points of it. It also has asset tracking, security, tip lines, sensitive information, logs, HR accruing, expense tracking, just to give you a couple more on top of that. As with our corporate office in a whole, we're very dedicated to providing every aspect of this company with transparency and ensuring that we're successful out in Colorado, and from corner to corner in any dispensary or manufacturing facility that we have. The only other ancillary business that we have with it is we provide a maintenance team and facilities development teams that go out and allow us to keep our facilities up to date, hazard-free, safety-free. And then we also have facilities development teams that actually go out and ensure we can accomplish these goals for like a new dispensary in Littleton as well. We have an entire team dedicated to allow this to happen and to make sure that what we've put in our application is shows up in the facility essentially. The corporate office is a key role in our success. It makes sure that we have that transparency, like I said, with the MED, with you guys, and with the city, and with any other jurisdiction in Colorado. I'm going to let these guys hit on or touch on a couple more departments that we have that will help you guys understand who we are. I think looks like Nick.
Good evening, authorities. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I really appreciate being here.
Are you Brad?
I'm Nick Spidell, sir. I'm the Chief Security Officer for the...
Okay. You didn't sign the sheet to speak, the sheet that was in the...
Bill, since he's an applicant, he doesn't have to.
Okay.
I could sign it now, sir, if you'd like me to.
I was just curious.
My apologies. I must have been in the restroom.
4 of you and 3 names.
Forgive me, please. I just wanted to touch briefly on my background. I was a United States Marine for 6 years. I did 4 years overseas. I was a transit officer for RTD on the trains. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and my career was on the track to be law enforcement for my life. I gave it up because I believe in what my brothers are doing here and what we are doing. And what I do in that time is dedicate my heart and soul to the security, safety, and compliance to make sure these guys are successful and this company is safe. Just wanted to touch on the building and some of the physical security pieces we put into it. We have alarms with motion detectors, audible sounds, duress codes, and panic buttons. We have secure vaults with bolted safes. The vaults are coded doors for access control that only managers have access to. We have cameras overseeing every entrance and exit and pretty much every angle of the facility. We have lighting that is sufficient to cover the parking lot. It's 90-watt halogen. It is 90 degrees and 30% overlap to make sure that our cameras can see at night any sort of robbery. We have an on-the-call security staff at all time. We have the alarm will call us and text us to be out here in response, or at least to assist the authorities with any sort of investigations or getting into the facilities as they need. As my brother Eric spoke, we have roughly 35 S-type guards. These guards have third-party training for civil liability, handcuffing, batons, and tasers. They go through a 40-hour instructional class with me that discusses Colorado marijuana law civil liability again, and any on-the-job training they would need. Then they go out with a field training officer for 1 month to ensure that they're fully comfortable with their job duties. We have a compliance team that consists of auditors. The auditors audit our cameras to make sure they're operational and in good working order at all times. They audit our perimeter security to make sure that we have no lights out or any locks are broken or anything not any trees are growing too tall that could hurt the security. They audit several other safety and security standards. We also train all the TGS employees. We put them through a security briefing on their new hire orientation that goes over all of Colorado marijuana law to make sure that they understand the do's and don'ts, the areas that could get them into trouble and that they're not allowed to do to make sure that they're a good representation of our company. We put them through safety training to make sure that they understand what their rights are and if they fall, what to do, how to make sure it's taken care of. Emergency procedures to make sure they know if there is an emergency exactly what to do. We have been told we're the example for the Colorado Marijuana Enforcement Division. We've had 4 audits or inspections, I should say, this year alone, and we've gotten 100% on every single one of them. The MED uses us for executive level tours as the example of the overall marijuana industry. I believe with all these security and safety measures, we're still able to bring safe and friendly access to the city of Littleton. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, authorities. Again, thank you for excuse me, taking the time to listen to what we have to say and what we plan to bring to the city if approved. My job as Chief Operating Officer is mainly retail operations and obviously corporate integration from employees that are hired. So with that comes a lot of extensive training as we are the knowledge base for the public and the last person that is able to give the public advice on how to consume cannabis and what the safe ways of doing that are. Because obviously that's a big deal when it comes to child safety. It's a big deal when it comes to overall community health. And so we have extensive new hire orientation at the corporate level. Once everybody's badged from the state level and background checks are done and everything of that nature. We have extensive new hire orientation that teaches individuals how to sell cannabis and how to talk to a potential user that might help with their ailments or whatever it may be. Goes into Marijuana 101, talks a lot about exit packaging, what the proper exit packaging is for child safety, including a Creo bag that we use that was initially used for cancer treatment and has been ASTM certified since 1996. We've also gone through our own child-resistant packaging testing with our own edibles that has passed with 98% effectiveness. So 50 kids have tried to get in the packaging and were not able to after 10 minutes of trying and after being told how to do it. And then also everything in addition is going into an exit package that has clear instructions on it that says where to store product and how to keep it out of the reach of children and how to stay safe. So that is a big focus on all of my employees once they are a retail associate and how to talk to customers and tell them how they should ingest. Also, there's extensive product knowledge and dosing knowledge that's displayed in the stores, including what 10 milligrams of an edible looks like compared to what a 50 milligram edible looks like. Also, how that affects their metabolism, how fast it hits and how much you should take and how often you should take it. In addition to that, we have done quite a bit of tours, educating the public, including, school board directors and people of the community that are servants of the community that really are big advocates on keeping people safe. Those people are Adams County Prevention Partnership Associations, and we display in our facility, which it states that 21 and older is all that's good for up in North Glen. So we partner with them up in North Glen to help assist with just community knowledge in general. So we've done multiple tours with high-level community partners to make sure that everybody understands what's actually happening within the facility and how we're educating people. In addition to that, we are proposing at 5231 Santa Fe Drive, hours of operation 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 p.m. is not a open door policy. We actually close at 6:45 to ensure everybody's checked out by 7 p.m., which is, important to know because, you don't want people in there after operating hours and things of that nature. That's a safety measure. And we create, actually for our staff members themselves, which, you probably have, quite a few Littleton natives that are employees at our location, if we are approved. We have created things called a leadership development program that allows us to develop leaders within our company. So as people come in at the entry level, there is inside our company ways to graduate into lead positions, into assistant manager positions, and also into general manager positions at these facilities to make sure that people are being developed properly. In addition to that, every one of our products is tested for potency and contaminants. We've actually been testing through a process called thin layer chromatography since 2010 that allows us to see a THC level of a flower, what a CBD content looks like, THCV, and on and on and on down the list. There's actually 80 cannabinoids. Currently, we use a place called Can Labs that does all of our potency and homogeneity testing to make sure that if I say that there's a 10 milligram edible in my package, that it's within the reasonable 1 milligram either way, and that, if I stick 10 milligrams in there, there's not going to be 50 on the other end that comes out. This stuff these types of products are tested on a weekly basis over and over again to ensure that everything is safe. If there is not something that is tested properly, it is pulled immediately and then disposed of, disposed of properly. So I say that to let you know that we do have extensive public safety measures in place to ensure that being the last point of contact before somebody ingests any form of marijuana, that they are safe, and that everybody is trained properly to be able to give those types of advice to the public. In addition to that, we've also had quite a few awards just in the quality of the product that we have, 24 industry awards overall in the last year and a half, talking about, clean, consistent products that don't have any contaminants that people enjoy. So it is a great quality product that we do provide to the public that is safe and we are proud of, and hopefully we can bring to this wonderful city. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, but that's what I had for you tonight prepared.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
I know there's some citizens who have lined up to speak regarding this matter, but before we get to that, I think the authority members probably have a number of questions that would like to direct to the four of you, and I'll open the table up to that.
How many facilities do you have total? Medical? You have medical and retail?
Yes, we do. We have currently 4 medical facilities, of which 3 of them we're capable of going recreational as well, of which we went recreational in January. We did this because we believe that there are many ailments outside of the medical conditions that are very treatable with cannabis, and we believe that it is our responsibility as a provider of cannabis to be able to provide that medicine to those that don't want to go and lie on about their red card and get that. And come in and medicate themselves appropriately. So we took that leap back in January. It has been very successful. We have many people that come from out of state that have conditions that we are preliminarily helping them treat, which is then allowing them to make the final decision to come to Colorado and stay for good to access this wonderful plant that helps them every day.
Chris, you are responsible for cultivation. I was wondering, is cultivation done indoors, outdoors, or both?
So all of our cultivation facilities are indoor. We have used, through trial and error processes, a way of efficiently creating some of the most state-of-the-art facilities out there. We use a type of lighting called induction lighting in our new facilities that reduces our carbon footprint by 40%. They run 400 degrees less in temperature and allow us to produce higher quality for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the carbon footprint on the environment. So that facility has been, our newest facility has just got up and running in the last 6 months. We've seen incredible things from it, something that we're going to continue to move forward with as we grow in production. But it's been a very encouraging thing. The way we get to those decisions is we actually have an entire breeding, research, and development facility. So we use a 12,000 square foot facility that we own to do research on cannabis specifically. In that research, we are doing tissue culture. We're breeding our own strains to bring higher CBD and correct ratios for certain ailments. We're also doing independent energy studies within those facilities, new designs, multi-level designs that allow us to, take a facility that instead of basing real estate, the footprint of the real estate, we're able to grow it vertically to allow us to maximize those spaces and keep the energy efficiency in place.
I had a question, and I want to lead by saying that one of the criteria that we are required to look at is that we should take into consideration a person whose criminal history indicates that he or she is not of good moral character. So I realize this may feel kind of personal, but it's because it inherently is. So I know that there were a couple of issues in the background check that we have, and we have some of the explanation for those, especially for Eric. But I wanted to provide you all with the opportunity tonight in a public hearing to address any of those things you'd like to explain if there were any mitigating circumstances around any of those issues. And
yes, sir. I'd love to explain that, Mr. Cole. We've all made mistakes in our lives. I'm Eric, so I specifically am probably the target here. I spent the last time I got in trouble was back in 2007. I just got out of the Marine Corps, made some bad decisions with my friends, hanging out with the wrong crowd. My charges were dismissed because I never actually did anything that specific incident. The most recent one was an obstruction charge, mainly because my friend got arrested for yelling at some guy. He was drinking, and I tried to get him away and mitigate the situation. I then got dragged into it, of which the city of Denver dropped the charges because there was no proof of any wrongdoing. I've since learned that, prior to my Marine Corps tenure, I was hanging out the wrong crowd, went to the Marine Corps kind of to straighten up and kind of find a path for my life. Came back, ended up meeting back up with the same guys that I was there with, thinking that they may have changed with me, found out they hadn't. cut ties with those people and haven't looked back since. You know, typically my entire life revolves around my business, my work, and my brothers. We hold our family very strong to our heart and continue to drive our business in that fashion. You know, I can't do anything besides apologize for any wrongdoings I may have done in the past. But, you know, I was young and, you know, things typically or sometimes happen. So I apologize for any of those wrongdoings, though.
As part of the report that we received from Littleton, there was also note of a warning that was provided from, I believe, the state marijuana enforcement. Would you like to, about packaging, I think? Would you like to say anything about that?
Yeah, so there was a kind of an unclear message in the original recreational realm. As you know, the medical marijuana at that time didn't require any type of exit packaging, child-resistant, reclosable. So our interpretation of the law at that point, right in the very first week of January, was child-resistant sealable bags. Their interpretation of the law was that it needed to be child-resistant, reclosable, which is clearly defined today. After one meeting with the individuals from the MED and that first week, we had a clear picture of what that looked like. Unfortunately, because we were one of the first 11 stores that opened in the state, we took that hit for almost the entire industry as far as getting a warning. There was absolutely no violation there as it came up after, because we complied with exactly what the clear message described. But unfortunately, those first weeks were very gray in how we operated, specifically in the child-resistant realm. But on the other side, the metric reporting system, which is the state system, it was a very learning curve for everybody. You know, they said that there was no wrongdoing after replying, but that it was kind of the requirement from their duty to make sure the warnings went out and were effectively remedied.
So aside from that interaction, since you all got into the medical marijuana and recreational marijuana business, have you had any other violations of either state or municipal code or any other interaction with law enforcement?
We have had none. We have really pushed very, very hard for the last 4 years to make sure that every decision we make is strategic and understood, that we comply and have evaluated each component of the code and the regulations and make sure we've interpreted it correctly. You know, if you've ever read the state code and the 200 pages that are there, you know, it takes a constant rebuild. You know, we do meetings once a month where we spend the entire day just going over the rules again to make sure that we understand the day-to-days of what we're doing and how we think they're interpreted. It's not a black and white situation. A lot of it's gray. We seek a lot of advice from the MED themselves through different petitions and different questionnaires on how to proceed in certain situations. Our compliance officers are on a first-name basis with almost every single MED agent to make sure that not only they know us, but that we're actively trying to make sure that everything we do it makes sense and is what they're asking of us. You know, they're, like I said, it's just not straight understood exactly what to do, but I believe we strive very, very hard to make sure that we meet those goals.
I'm convinced that you gentlemen are really concerned and conscientious about security and following the rules. However, there are employees that can put you into a situation to get you in trouble. Two questions. One, is there ever a situation where there's only one employee in one of your installations? Everybody shaking their head no. Is that the right answer? And two, how do you ensure that these people that work for you, when you're not on site, are working to the same high standards that you hold yourselves to?
Well, I think we drive that passion and that accountability into our general manager and our assistant managers and our leads. Everything has a checks and balance. There's nothing that's done, no input into our metric systems, no receiving of any type of product or selling of any product without those checks and balances in place. We make sure that all of our product is processed, labeled, and completely secured prior to it even getting to the floor, and the manager's required to check that. At no time is there ever any less than typically 6 or 7 individuals within our establishments. We do significantly higher volume than most dispensaries because we bring that professionalism, that ability to really engage the public, to educate that we don't advertise. We use word of mouth. We use the ability of the people that we service to tell their friends and family what we do and why we're here, and they bring others. And that ability to make sure that each individual is trained properly, that they understand their impact not only in the community but within our organization to make sure that it's compliant and safe is something that we walk around and tell them constantly. It's not that Kyle and I and Brad and Nick are in the corporate offices and we don't go to the field. Brad spends 3-4 days in the field. Kyle spends 2. Nick's basically never in the offices, and I'm typically in our cultivation and manufacturing 2-3 days a week. So we have our time with our people. I know almost every staff member by name, which is difficult with as many as we have. We make sure that we have that personal understanding that we're here for them and they're here for us. And we have created that interior community within our company that is now weighing into the communities around us. So we do have those checks and balances in place, and we are very capable of making sure that nothing ever goes out those doors that isn't for the person at which was there, and making sure that specifically children never end up with our product, and you'll never see us on the news.
I have a question. Have you ever experienced a break-in in any of your facilities, stores, dispensaries?
We've had 2 incidences where we've had attempted break-ins. We've had people try and pry on the doors, really go at the locks. We've never had an incident where anything's ever been taken. We've had 1 breach that got in 1 door, but because we use Sally port doors, which is a barrier of 2 doors back to back, both in our entrances and our exits of every facility, they were never able to get past that door, which then scared them off because the alarm sirens, all of that went off, and they hit the road because that next door was too much to overcome because they spent so much time on the original door. A lot of what we do, that's why we employ individuals that are roamers as well, that are going to each facility at night, just kind of popping in to see if there's happens to be a door that someone was fidgeting with or something along those lines, at which they can stay there the rest of the night. We definitely take that component very seriously. We're employing individual security guards at each location as well to make sure that the patients in a whole feel safe. But we've never really had an incident, not during the day, never during business hours, nothing like that. We even with all of the people we've serviced, nobody's ever felt that they were able to come in and hold us up or anything like that. And it's probably because we're so organized that there's easier targets out there. I don't believe we're the target that people would go after that would say, these guys are so disorganized that I could take advantage of it. Even if you watched us for a long period of time within the facility, you would see that there's a lot of strategy behind the way the counters are set, the way the employees operate within that space to kind of segregate themselves from the patients to make sure that they're not vulnerable.
Do you have a security guard present when you're open?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And we will in Littleton.
And you're 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Correct.
7 days a week?
7 days a week, yes.
I have one more question. On your trash, how are you planning on disposing of that?
So we use. So the state law requires that we blend any cannabis that was to be thrown away or anything of that nature 50-50. But the way we strategize on making sure that within that trash, no individual could ever get in it, is that we purchase these compactors called VIPs, the vertical inline packers. And what that does is it creates basically a metal structure around the entire trash can. We specifically have them built so that the lock is a rounded lock that goes up into a chamber that can't be cut. With that, there's full steel gauge doors that then shut and allow that lock, and there's 2 of them to make sure that you could never cut the lock. With that, we found that ever since we've employed that measure, which was about 2 years ago, we've never had another break-in of a trash can, which is a very typical threat within, probably the biggest threat within a marijuana facility. A lot of people think that there's marijuana in the trash, that they can easily access it. We do not have that ability within our organization ever since we've deployed that measure. So we're very proficient in making sure that that never happens.
So I'm just curious about that. So is there a different trash provider or waste provider who comes and picks that up, or is it a regular commercial and you all are there to open that kind of?
So the Alpine Waste is who services our VIPs. Basically what they do is their forks are able to come in, then lift the container out because of the size and bulkiness of the trash truck, and they're able to pull it out, dump it, and then put it back in. And the common individual, unless you hooked up a truck and ripped the dumpster out of it, you would never be able to actually get in it without dismantling the doors or the locks in some other capacity, which we have yet to see.
Where do you receive your training for all the education that you give to your clients? Because that's something you continually keep talking about, the education, making sure people get the right product.
Yes, absolutely. One thing we have is in our offices, we've built a full classroom that each month our staff is then required to come and do kind of ongoing education. Sometimes we do it at our stores, but most of the time we like to have them come out of the retail space and focus within our classroom environment and allow them to touch on new education pieces within the cannabis environment, the security, any other ins and outs that the company policies have been put in place. But typically we have an ongoing copywriter and individuals that just sit in our office and read new law and new kind of innovative ideas within the cannabis community to kind of project that within our stores. If you ever came in our stores, you would see that our staff is probably the most educated when it comes to, prescribing cannabis. Really the way you have to look at cannabis is that, our employees are doctors, to a certain degree. Sure, a doctor gives you the recommendation and you're able to come into my store, but there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that comes behind that. We have to make sure that they are giving an individual with, let's say, glaucoma, the right prescription or medicine for that condition. You can be completely off on the right side when they're trying to cure this and you're giving them that. So it's very important, and we take that very much to heart to make sure that each individual is taken care of, and we always encourage that feedback to come back to make sure that it helped them in the way we said it did, or if it didn't, we understand why, and we're always striving to get there. And that's exactly why we began our breeding program. Our breeding program, it has been, we basically taken, higher CBD and THC and THCV strains and cross them to make different blends that basically create better relief for the individuals. So we absolutely take that very, very strongly.
How do you promote your business? How do you go about drawing customers to your center as opposed to the other centers that are here in the city?
So typically there's no real way to do it within any typical advertising structure. We use mainly the internet. The internet's through our SEO and our website content. We drive organic searches and make sure that within the cannabis realm, we are the higher tier within the internet. Our number one Our number one way of getting anybody in the store is making sure that we provide an incredible experience for the member or for the patient so that they tell their friends and families to come in. I mean, that is solely the way we do business. That's the only way that we really get people in the door. You know, we prove ourselves every single time, and that is essentially what Brad drives to his staff every day. If you're not convincing them to come back, they're not convincing anybody else, you know, and they understand that, they appreciate that, and it's a great relationship. We have an incredible opportunity to be so impactful, and that was something that I didn't get to speak on earlier, was just the overall kind of despair that I feel like medical marijuana in Littleton has. You know, I don't believe there's any, specifically Mother Nature's Cure, of who we're trying to remedy of her situation that, you know, has a very, very limited grow, very, very limited retail space, and create a impactful business within Littleton. I think that what we can bring to these citizens are far more than what they're getting today. I think that, you know, the overall understanding of what cannabis looks like and the benefits within the city of Littleton are probably a misconception that there's just a bunch of hippies smoking marijuana in the back, and that is not what we portray to this industry. We strive very, very hard to make sure that every person that we encounter, we change that misconception in their mind that says that we are the individual, or that marijuana can be done different, and there can be a professionalism behind it that makes sense. And I think that the community of Littleton and the individuals of Littleton have a tremendous amount to gain from an organization like ours. We don't take this business lightly. We don't take our impact lightly. We make sure that what we're doing is with the patient in mind in every instance. But one other thing I'd like to say as well is we picked the 5231 location specifically because, obviously because it's conforming. It's a conforming use within the city of Littleton, and I know you guys know that there's a limited basis in which anybody can go to. I think it's in the best interest of the authority members here to move something from a non-conforming to a conforming. But within that space, I'd like to explain kind of why we picked 5,000 square feet over 2,000. We had every opportunity with our landlord to take 2,500 square feet or the maximum, which is 2,000. We chose to take the whole space specifically for security, to ensure that we don't have a shared demising wall within the space that another tenant was behind. It also eliminated the ventilation and the problem with smell, which we rarely have, but we're a very neighborhood-oriented person. We are a business. We believe in making sure we have good community with those next to us and those above us and around us, to make sure that we are not creating negative impact on their business. You know, that it's important that we all thrive together. And it's specifically in our Northglenn store, we have taken that shopping center there, and we have literally transformed it into a bustling new business entity over there of many other people. The laundry, the hair care place, the tattoo parlor. They haven't seen the growth in the last 2 years than they've ever seen. And it's because we bring more people to our business, which then shares into their businesses. But with that space, we're hoping to work out with the individuals next door at St. Nick to provide them with some additional parking, specifically during their peak seasons. And again, we're trying to make sure that the people above we've mitigated any problems that may arise, which is specifically the ventilation and our customers taking up some of the parking lot. The parking lot overall is very accommodating, more than enough parking than we would ever need. We're hoping to drive all of our customers to one side of the parking lot and allow the businesses above to stay all on the other side, so that we don't have kind of commingling within that, and allow them all as many reserved spaces as they need. we definitely believe in the neighborhood, understanding of business. I've ran a few different businesses in my life, construction company, a real estate investment company, and like I said, I was in the Marine Corps as well. We've put a tremendous amount of passion behind this, and I promise you, if you approve what you've heard tonight, that we will not let you down in the future.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
Okay.
Any further
expect it.
questions? Does the city attorney have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I am here, though. It's an extensive staff communication with a lot of requirements, and so I'm happy to go through any of those. I did want to let you know that this is an application that we're receiving under the newly revised City Code Section 3-20-10, which City Council recently revised to allow the transfer of a license in the case where a new application is approved and the previous license holder relinquishes their license. And we will have a relinquishment from Mother Nature's Miracle if this application is approved, and that location will be shutting down, and then this location will, the new license will go in at the new location.
When do you plan on opening?
We've been working on the engineering to kind of get ahead of the game, but we still need to go through the building department, and then once we've satisfied all the certificate of occupancy requirements, we would open shortly after. So we would hope to open sometime in December would be the goal.
You have to open before Christmas if you're next door to St. Nick's.
Well, I think they'd appreciate it if we weren't, so they got as much time as they could. So maybe we'll
Or that way.
We'll strive for the 26th.
Okay.
And can I just confirm with the city that the application was complete and that the fee was paid?
Yes.
And that the space does conform to the city code?
In terms of the zoning regulations, yes,
sorry,
it does.
Yes, as far as the zoning regulations, yes, okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 citizens that have signed up as speakers. I don't know if any of them are going to be questioned by you, if you've requested them to be here or not. I also don't know if anyone is speaking in opposition, but I would ask that anyone who wants to speak, we have to limit the time. It says on the sheet that it's 3 minutes. We'll give you 4 minutes. Guidelines are that we only want to hear points that are pertinent to the approval of this transfer. We're not interested in your views of marijuana or medical marijuana or what the law should be. The law is that medical marijuana is allowed in the city of Littleton, and there are 4 dispensaries that are permitted to operate. This would be one of the 4. So if your comments can be restricted to that part, you can speak for your 4 minutes. If you want to get off on a tangent, I'm afraid I'm probably going to have to stop you. So would you like to call the witnesses that are going to speak on your behalf?
We did not prepare any witnesses on our behalf. As you see, we don't have lawyers or anybody else here besides us. We believe that we are here to display our competency in our business and don't believe that anybody else can portray that better than us. So I believe everybody else is maybe opposition or for another purpose. So,
all right. Well, we'll invite the citizens to speak. You can take a seat.
All right. Thank you for your time, Authority.
And thank you for your presentation. Whoever wants to speak first, please come forward. And would you state your name, please?
Hi, authorities. My name is Michelle Hart. I represent Trans-American Rubber. This is our company vice president, Diane Christensen, here to support as well.
I'm gonna have to swear you before you testify.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this authority is truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm here today in opposition of the Green Solution medical marijuana. We, Trans-American Rubber, reside at 5231 South Santa Fe Drive. We take up the majority of the upper level of the building that they're asking to put their business at. I have with me today a petition in opposition for the marijuana dispensary signed by every business on our block with the exception of 2, and I'd like to present that to you. We have 2 main concerns why we're opposed to the marijuana dispensary in our building. It really has nothing to do with my views on marijuana. It has to do with first of all, safety and security. And I heard them talk a lot about the safety and security, and I'm happy to hear the measures that they are taking. However, they're protecting themselves. They're not protecting us. We are a business that operates from 8 to 5. Like I said, we take up the majority of the upper level. We're a company of 10 people. We're a small family business. We've been there for 7 years, and we just signed a 7-year lease. Medical marijuana does not work with our business for many reasons. First and foremost, the most important reason is we're a CT-PAT certified company. That's a customs trade partnership against terrorism certification through Homeland Security. It's a very strict and stringent process we had to go through to get the certification through the federal program, where Homeland Security has inspected our facilities and our facilities over in Korea and China. They would not allow us to operate, more than likely with a medical marijuana dispensary. It is in direct conflict with their rules and regulations. That's our first and foremost. Second would be the safety and security of our employees. I've had the opportunity to exchange an email with a crime analyst at the Denver Police Department in which she indicates the amount of burglary attempts upon individuals as well as the business. Tonight we heard the Green Solution talk about the attempts and burglaries on their business. We share a parking lot, we share a building. That's not something that we like to subject ourselves to. Lastly, we think it's a negative impact on our business because of the nature of our business. We work with blue-collar workers, farmers. We're a nationwide business. The negative impact on our business, they come to our building. They don't accept medical marijuana on a nationwide basis, and it would have an extreme negative impact on our sales and our business. So that's what I would like for you to consider. It would be not good for us. We're asking that you, I'm not saying I don't agree with marijuana, I'm just saying it's not good for our building. I think they would be great as a singular facility. Their business would be best served somewhere else. We're a professional office with professional business people coming to work every day. It's not appropriate for our building. Dan, did you want to say anything?
I did not sign the petition. Originally, I did not think I was going to speak. However, based on hearing everything that was going on, I felt the need to speak because I have heard the security measures that they're taking in place for their trash, for their people, their training. Guess what? We're above them. Where's our security? We have 2 doors that are at the entrance on both sides, and I'm concerned. We have people that are going in, so I'm equally concerned about my employees. There is no security. There is no one that's going to be there to make sure that when we arrive first thing in the morning that there isn't going to be anyone there waiting. And so our top foremost have been mentioned by Michelle. We are CT-PAT, and we are very concerned that our business will not flourish with that type of business in the same building.
I didn't catch the second lady's name.
My name is Diane Christensen. I'm the Vice President of Trans-American Rubber.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Sean Seeley. I appreciate you guys hearing what we have to say tonight. I'm with St. Nick's Christmas Stores.
Yeah, I'll swear you in.
Okay.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this authority is truthful?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we're here in opposition also. It's a tough deal because we're entrepreneurs. We're a family business, much like these gentlemen. We've seen their presentation. It's obviously impressive. We see that they are a family business trying to make their way, and so are we. The fact of the matter is that we've been in business for 38 years in Littleton. That is our corporate headquarters. We have pulled back every other location from Colorado to be here in Littleton. We take it extremely serious. We appreciate where we're at. We appreciate our neighbors. We know who they are. We know who their families are. We know what's going on with them. That includes Anglers All, the Ackermans, all up and down the block. We know what's happening. We see it as besides our take on marijuana, we have families coming in nonstop for 90 days, the fourth quarter, and even all the way back into July. And we got kids that have been coming in there since they were little, and now they're bringing their little kids in. And that's one of our most prideful things in our store, and to have, a medical marijuana facility next door just it's going to affect our business. And our business is a bit of an icon, I would think, for Littleton. We've been around for a long time, and we love being part of this community. Our kids go to school in these communities, or this community, and we take a lot of pride in that. We are worried about safety, for sure. They talked about their facility being Fort Knox. Our facility is not. It's well taken care of and safe, but I guess we're not quite sure what kind of the public are coming to their facility to buy these things, and when it's mostly a cash business. We all know that. And so do criminals. They know that the guys that are walking in there to buy medical marijuana are going to be paying cash typically. The other thing, as far as the hours of operation, 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, that's fine for a medical marijuana facility. But if that does revert over to a recreational facility, those can be expanded per the state law. We're worried about that. I think that there's other scams where there are guys that are coming in, buying with their medical marijuana cards because they're so easy to get now. They're coming in and they're able to sell that marijuana to guys that can't get their cards or don't want to pay the price for recreational marijuana because it's so much higher. So there's kind of where we stand, or at least one of us stands. We have another one of us from St. Nick's that would like to speak too. So that's kind of where we're at. We see it.
Thank you. Good evening. What's your name, sir?
Ira Seeley, principal owner of St. Nick's and the property owner also.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this authority is truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, start your ticker. I wish I could articulate as well as these four young men. Thank you for your service, by the way. They did a great job of presentation. I get 4 minutes to arbitrate why I don't think this should be next to a family-operated business. All businesses need to be compatible in the city. If you have a line of businesses, and what they're describing in their business is not a stackable business in having businesses above them and around them. It looks like a freestanding operation to me. Like my son said, we have families all year long. Now, how do you tell, a parent tells a child, they're coming into St. Nick's, oh, that's a marijuana distribution center. How do how does this happen? I think the image of the community will be tarnished to the point of no return. We have patrons from all over the city, let alone all over the state, that come down. We have to have a compatibility. If we have businesses that are shaped like squares and the square pegs fit, and then all of a sudden you put a round peg in there, it's going to cause problems. I'm all for entrepreneurship, but something's not right here. For somebody to open up a marijuana dispensary right next to one of the oldest businesses in Littleton, and the revenues that we handle, and the inventories that we have to pay for, I don't know how they were responsible for buds and loss. I guess that's just waste, and they're talking about waste and putting it in a dumpster. Well, I had an employee come to me yesterday. And he says, he's in recovery, alcoholic and drugs. And he goes, "This is a bad deal." He says, "I'll tell you what, the elements that this will draw, not only from the homeless that sleep under the bridges, in the river, and etc., is not going to be a good future." This is him talking from the inside out. He would like to spoke tonight, but he couldn't make it. The element is wrong, flat out wrong. I'm sure these guys, and obviously they already have a business here in Littleton. Is that correct?
No.
Well, according to my Google, mother's what?
There's
it
a
says it's in
There's a
Littleton.
transfer of the license from an
Well,
existing.
it says it's on Google. It says it's in Littleton right now.
Right.
there is a current license. They're looking to acquire the license from the current licensee, who would then shut down.
Are they established in Littleton right now?
There is a license.
No, they're
not there.
It says right
These
on
gentlemen
Google-
who are here tonight applying for a license do not have a current.
It says right on Google that their establishment is in Littleton right now.
No, Mother Nature's Miracle is in Littleton, but it does not belong to these gentlemen. It is an existing license that has been here for 5 years, sorry, thank you, Pam. The owner is looking to transfer her license to these gentlemen. She is in a non-conforming location. Her business would then be shut down. They would become the 4th medical marijuana center in the city.
So why don't they move into her location?
It is not a conforming location. It does not meet the buffers.
Am I correct in understanding that there are 4 possible locations in the city of Littleton that could handle or would accept a medical marijuana and or a marijuana distribution? Is that correct?
There's 4 licenses that the city will issue. There may be more locations, but I do know that due to the buffers, it's very constrained on where those locations can be.
So in my tax structure in our business in Littleton, we are at 6.7, I think it is, or 6.9. What is
Sales
the
tax.
taxation for medical marijuana? The tax revenue?
It's the same. Our medical marijuana dispensaries do pay sales tax to the city.
Point.
Well, the city only takes a portion of that, and then the state takes a portion, but it would be the same sales tax that other establishments within the city pay.
Well, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm a survivor of the 60s, 70s, and the 80s and the drug culture and et cetera. We all have our ghost. But this is wrong. It's the wrong business in the wrong place. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Hart.
Mr. Hart, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to this authority is truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
I'm here as a concerned father and husband. This is my wife over here, Michelle, who works at Trans-American Rubber. I happen to be a Denver police sergeant, and I'm in no way representing our department. I'm here, as I said, on behalf of my wife and her business. I've spent the past 17 years in Northeast Denver, and we have more medical marijuana or regular marijuana shops now than I can count. And I've got all kinds of statistics about the car break-ins and the burglaries and the things that happen around there. Unfortunately, most of these businesses have been around so long now, I don't have the pre-stats that show what the crime looked like before, and so they're kind of irrelevant, but there is a lot of crime there. I told my wife when she told me about this that she was going to have to make sure and lock her car, not leave valuables in it. The normal things that I tell citizens in the community in Denver. What's got me concerned is at least once a week there's armed robberies, and not that there's anything wrong with the Littleton Police Department, but in Denver we have a lot more officers on the street in the area. I've lived in this community for 35 years. I live in Littleton now, and I see a police officer, once every couple weeks. There's people in these neighborhoods that see us 10 or 15 times a day, me specifically, not to mention all the cohorts I have driving around, and people are still brazen enough to come in and do armed robberies, not just of the business, but of the customers that are coming and going. They'll steal their marijuana, they'll steal their cash. My daughters work at the business as well. They're 13 and 14 years old. During the summer, it's a good chance for them to make some money and to learn the value of working. They would like to, as they get older, do more work after school. And under no condition am I going to allow them to come there. I really don't want my wife working there. And this has really put a big damper on our family and on the business to try to work this out so that, that she feels safe. And I didn't want to scare her or her company. And the owner, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight, he's out of town, he was already nervous and had come to me with all these issues. So as everyone else said, just because I'm a police officer, I'm not necessarily against the marijuana or the industry, anything like that. It's just one of those things that I don't want it in my backyard. Was a neighborhood police officer for 11 years, and I would go to these community meetings in Denver, speak in front of city council, licensing boards, and it was always to get rid of liquor stores. People are saying that marijuana is now comparable to liquor stores. People don't want a liquor store on their block either. You get vagrants standing outside asking for money. Along with that comes all the uncleanliness. They use the restroom wherever they feel like it. They're begging for money. They're opening up car doors, trying to find change. And I see all this stuff, and I heard what they said about bringing in other businesses. The businesses that they're talking in sounds like it would be more acceptable to theirs, a tattoo parlor, these other kind of places that aren't necessarily family businesses like St. Nick's, Trans-American Rubber, where, I felt comfortable letting my kids go there after school to work. There seems like there would be a better place. I know we can't stick all four of them in the same location, but this, even though it is apparently zoned for marijuana, it is family business. It is more family-oriented than some of the industrial areas where typically you see the marijuana facilities.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other citizens that wish to speak? Thank you. We appreciate your time and we appreciate your views. At this time, I think we should open up the discussion to the authority members to give your own judgments.
I'd like to, especially in light of some of the folks who have come tonight, I'd like to point out for those here and anyone watching, the criteria we're going to use tonight, or that we should be using to evaluate the application, is very specific. So the things that we're going to look at are whether or not the application is complete and signed, whether or not the application fee has been paid, whether or not the application contains any material falsehood or misrepresentation, whether or not the application complies with the requirements of city code, whether or not the applicant or any person with an ownership interest of 5% or greater or any manager has not previously been convicted of a felony violation, and whether or not the proposed location of the dispensary is permitted and that the building is not located within any distance restrictions established by city code. And also wanted to point out what those are. So under Littleton City Code, the restrictions are that no medical marijuana dispensary can be located within 500 feet of a licensed child care facility, within 1,000 feet of any educational institution or school, college, or university, either public or private, within 1,000 feet of any public park, public pool, or public or private recreational facility, within 1,000 feet of any halfway house or correctional facility, within 1,000 feet of any other medical marijuana center, and within any building or structure that contains a residential unit. So I think I am certainly empathetic to the views of the business owners who came tonight and spoke. I'm of the opinion that based on the specific criteria that we're looking at, it looks to me that the license or the application meets those criteria. My concern would have, before tonight, would have been about the moral character of the applicants. I think the most important thing for that, for me, is hearing that they've been operating facilities for 4 years without, basically without incident. So I think that especially speaks to their ability to operate a facility and be respectful of the rules and laws. So.
I'd also like to share the fact that I truly am empathetic with what I've heard this evening. I'm a business owner also on Santa Fe, just to the north of you. So I understand the area. I have been to some of the business of individuals here. That being said, I'd like to tell you that way back 1,000 years ago, I worked as a clerk in the Denver District Court, and people got really angry with what was going on. And they were smart enough not to go to the judge or attorneys. I was a clerk. They went to the clerks, and they would express their frustration and their being upset. And we all calmed them down almost 100% of the time with a truth. And that truth is, you have to understand, these are not halls of justice. They're courts of law. By the same token, there are laws regulating the establishment of medical marijuana facilities within Littleton. At the present time, recreational medical marijuana facilities in Littleton are not allowed. So it'd be strictly medical marijuana. I was sitting on this board when the initial 4 licenses were issued, and there was such overwhelming fear of the moral degradation it was going to bring to this city. From the time that those medical marijuana facilities were established to date, there has been not one violation brought before this board. Same cannot be said of retail liquor facilities. I think there might have been an attempted break-in or two, but the violence, the lingering outside, all of this has been non-existent. As a matter of fact, and I'm sure this doesn't connect up directly or could be proved, no study, but after the establishment of these facilities, for about 4 months, this authority didn't even meet. There was a drop in just everything. And I would joke, with the establishment of the medical marijuana facilities, Littleton was a much more mellow community. At any rate, the fact is that if they meet the legal criteria, and there is very few places with a physical location, I think they can move somewhere else. There is not that many physical locations that meet the criteria in Littleton. This is one that does, and if they meet the legal criteria, it is the law, and this board would be negligent in its duty if it did not grant a license if they met the requirements of law. Sure.
Wait a minute. The chair needs to decide whether you're going to recognize the speaker. The public hearing is closed, and we cannot take testimony.
Can't allow you to speak again. You had your 4 minutes. I'm sorry. There is a limitation. This is not really a public forum. This is a hearing. And the authority at this point is discussing the issue. It's now closed to the public. Anyone else on the authority have any comments to make or any questions?
I'm looking at, potentially, I know there's a concern for health and safety and welfare of the community. If a medical marijuana facility is not operated or run in a manner that is responsible, if there's a continuing pattern of offenses and crime related to the business, directly related to the business, in fact. I don't think that pattern currently exists with their existing operations in the state. And I think it's something that could be considered if there was something that developed and the police department brought it to our attention, brought it to the attorney, the city attorney. Yeah, and I am sympathetic for the existing business that is in the building I know how hard certifications with Homeland Security along those lines can be to obtain security requirements for businesses that work with other businesses that have those requirements and onus placed on them. But I don't think there's any part of the municipal code that gives us leeway to consider that.
And I was also going to add one important distinction between, again, not so much for the members of the authority who know this, but for the public. One important distinction is that under liquor code, we take into account the needs and desires of the adult inhabitants of the community. That is not a criteria for medical marijuana dispensaries. So, for example, you may see that when we have a liquor license application, there's a petition that goes around to ask folks in the neighborhood whether or not they want it. That's not something that takes place for medical marijuana, and the reason why is because that's not a criteria that we are either required or allowed to use. So, when we judge the fitness of the application.
I sympathize with the neighboring businesses that would rather not have this business near them, but this authority is not able to make a judgment based on what is popular and what is unpopular. This business has complied to all the requirements that the city asks for. Their location is compliant. Their backgrounds have been checked. They are legal, and this is the location that they picked. And the authority has to pass yes or no on this location based on their compliance with the city ordinances. And that's what we intend to do. Do we have any further discussion? That's correct, sir. At this time, I would call for a motion from the authority. I'm sorry? You were given 4 minutes to speak, and you used your 4 minutes. We considered your points, and I think we've explained why it is that we are limited in our decision. I'm not going to repeat that. Sir, I've explained what we have to do in terms of making our decision, and we're about to do that. You've had your chance to speak. We appreciate you speaking. We appreciate your petition. It's not germane to our decision. Now, at this time, I would ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion. Motion to close the public hearing and a resolution, sure, this one. A resolution of the Littleton Licensing Authority be approved, which grants the Green Solution LLC, DBA, the Green Solution, 5231 South Santa Fe Drive, Littleton, Colorado, a medical marijuana center license contingent upon relinquishment of the medical marijuana center license currently held by Mother Nature's Miracle, and receipt and approval of reports from Colorado Bureau of Investigation and approval by the Colorado Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division. The license approval is based upon the following findings of fact. 1, notice of the hearing was properly posted and published. 2, application is complete and signed by the applicant. 3, the applicant has paid the application fee and any other fees required. 4, the application does not contain a material falsehood or misrepresentation. 5, the application complies with all of the requirements of Title III, Chapter 20. 6, the applicant, any person with an ownership interest of 5% or greater, or any manager have previously been convicted of a felony violation. And 7, the proposed location of the medical marijuana center is permitted in that building and that the building is not located within any distance restrictions established by city code.
Excuse me, can I add that we are also waiting on reports not only from Colorado Bureau of Investigation, but the Federal Bureau of Investigation, so we'd like a contingent on receipt of those reports as well.
And 8, that we receive the aforementioned reports from Colorado Bureau of Investigation and FBI.
And yeah.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Would the city clerk please poll the authority?
Authority Chair Bradish.
Yes.
Authority Vice Chair Cole.
Yes.
Authority Member Levere.
Yes.
Authority Member Mather.
Yes.
Authority Member Odell.
Yes.
Motion is carried. The resolution is approved. You gentlemen have the authority to proceed with the transfer of the license, and we wish you the best of luck in your business. And hopefully we won't see you here for any violations. Thank you all. We appreciate your time. Next item of business is item number 18, reports. Do we have any staff reports?
No, I don't have anything. No.
How about authority members?
No.
None? The chair has none. There being no further business coming before the authority, I declare this meeting adjourned.